It's Que Golazo time, weekend preview. We have Jonathan Johnson, Jimmy Conrad to break down the Premier League, FA Cup action, Manchester United against Liverpool, Southampton against Arsenal. We also go to the Bundesliga as Monchengladbach face Borussia Dortmund, Schalke face Bayern Munich. We also go to Italy, AC Milan against Atalanta, games in La Liga, and so much more. Que Golazo begins right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Que Golazo, our weekend preview. So much action, so I brought in the big guns, obviously. Jimmy Conrad, what's up, bud?
Yeah, I am excited to be here today. One of my players that I coach, because I have a side hustle, coaching the USL League 2 team, 4th division here in the States. He's entered into the MLS Super Draft today, and he could go in the top 10. So I'm very excited to see what happens for him. And of course, we got some big games this weekend to talk about.
That's great. What's his name?
Nabi Kimbuchi. I'm not the best at saying, as you guys know, pronouncing names, but Kimbuchi. God, I can't say it. We just call him the B. And he should go in the top 10 for sure. Lots of teams are looking at him. I suspect that he could end up at Atlanta, and maybe he shouldn't go there because they're a bit of a dumpster fire at the moment. But we'll see. You know, that's American sports. You get drafted and you have to go where you have to go.
Absolutely. Well, we wish Nabi the absolute best. As you may be listening to this, maybe it's already happened, but congrats, and let's see what happens. Here's to the future for Nabi. Absolutely. And of course, we have Jimmy on one side and Jonathan Johnson. JJ, what's up, man?
Hey there, guys. Very good. Great to be on with you as always. How are you both doing?
We're good. We're good. Jimmy, you're good, right?
I'm solid.
He's solid. I'm solid. The weekend preview is solid. There's a lot of action, everybody, and we're going to get straight into it. And Jimmy, let's begin in England. There's FA Cup action, but also one Premier League match as well. What do you have for us? Let's begin, obviously, with the big one. I think Manchester United as they face Liverpool in the FA Cup.
Well, I think what we've learned about Ole Gunnar managing Manchester United is that he likes to lose in the semifinals of competitions. And this is only the 4th round, everybody, you know? So I feel like Manchester United, based on this logic, should win this game. They should be the favorites. They're hosting this one, of course. They're coming off a 0-0 draw at Anfield last weekend, where they did enough to maybe steal all 3 points. So something to take into consideration. Also, Jurgen Klopp isn't that great in this competition. He's lost in round 3 once. He's lost in round 4, which is where they are now, twice. He's exited at the 5th round stage last term. He's also lost to Plymouth and Shrewsbury, and they haven't won this competition, Liverpool, since 2006. That was a great final, by the way, 3-3 West Ham. They won it in penalties. If you guys want to see the highlights of that, I highly encourage you guys doing that. Anyway, I like United to win. I just don't know if it's going to be in regulation. After 90 minutes, it's plus 155 on William Hill. Those are the odds there. Or it's going to be 2-1, so both teams scored. Maybe that. I could kind of see penalties, honestly. This is going to go 0-0 or going to be a draw through 90 minutes. That's plus 255. And then if you guys, I love this value a lot, plus 500 if the game goes to penalties. Doesn't matter who wins. The game just has to go to penalties, plus 500. So if you hit both of those, you can write me a thank you card afterwards. But there is something about these two teams and where they currently are. Obviously, Liverpool haven't scored in a while. I think they're due to score, but Manchester United pretty stout defensively. Really interesting affair. I'm kind of curious on your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, JJ, well, obviously, as we're taping, it's before Liverpool face Burnley, so we don't know exactly in terms of injuries or who's fit, but you would imagine there'll be a little bit of tinkering, but not too much. I wonder how Jurgen Klopp will use this one, JJ. How do you see that one?
Well, I don't think that he can take too many risks at this moment in time when we've spoken so much, since the injury to Virgil van Dijk about Liverpool's defensive issues. 3 of their last 5 matches, they failed to score. So, I'd say that they've got just as many problems going forward as they have at the back. And I think that, okay, on paper, Burnley at home is a game you'd expect Liverpool to be sticking in a couple of goals. But if they don't, then they're then coming into that United match, again, having failed to score. That'll be 4 out of 6 matches, without finding the back of the net. And suddenly, under pressure to sort of win a game that's at this stage of the FA Cup is not as meaningful as it would have been in the league a couple of weeks ago. So, for me, I'm curious to see how Klopp solves this problem of them suddenly not scoring goals, because this is an issue that we've never really seen for the Reds under Jurgen Klopp's leadership. And suddenly he's now got issues at both ends of the pitch, which I find, quite an interesting poser for him to have to figure out.
Yeah, and you know what? Since December 19th, I think it was when they destroyed Crystal Palace, they haven't won a game yet, aside from obviously beating Villa Kids, like, in the FA Cup. But in 2000,
We're not counting that.
we're not even counting them.
Either.
Exactly.
I wouldn't either.
We
Oh,
we
no.
we came out with the moral victory.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, listen, if you're a Liverpool fan, like, you should definitely not count that in terms of progress. At the moment, since destroying Crystal Palace, they haven't won a game in the league. And now the FA Cup, of course, facing Manchester United. All right, Jimmy, what's your final prediction on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what I saw. I was going through really good value. I think the game will go to penalties. I think it will be tight. There is some silver lining, though, and I could see, given that Jurgen Klopp's track record in this competition really shows that he doesn't really care about it all that much. If they get through, fine, but if they don't, whatever. And I think the silver lining, if either one of these clubs gets knocked out, is that they don't have to worry about these midweek games anymore. And if you're going to get knocked out, why not now? Why suffer all the way through another 3-4 to get to the semifinals, to the final, and maybe not win it? Let's just get out of it now, concentrate on maybe the competitions that matter more to the club, Champions League, the league itself. So I don't know. With that in mind, I could see Man United taking this a little bit more serious than Liverpool, but I could see a draw. I mean, it's obviously two big rivals. They're going to be fighting it out. I say penalties. Manchester United wins in penalties.
All right, JJ?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'm going to say that United go one better than their league game, and I'm going to say they actually win. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 United victory. I don't think that the spectacle is going to be that much better than the recent league offering, but I do agree with Jimmy. It'll be tight, but I think United will just shade it. Maybe another Pogba stunner. Fingers crossed.
Ooh, nice.
You never know. All right, I'm going to go with Jimmy here. I think it's going to go all the way to penalties, and United will take it. Now, remember, everybody, we're talking this before their game against Burnley. Take that what you will. Anything else in the tournament, Jimmy, for this weekend?
I like Southampton versus Arsenal, frankly. I think that's a really good matchup between two teams that have shown glimpses of being very good. Arsenal are obviously unbeaten in their last 6 matches, and they have 5 clean sheets in a row. That is something. I think the Arsenal defense has been ridiculed for many seasons now, and for rightfully so, especially on defending set pieces, where more it's just a lack of concentration and anything to do with talent. So I feel like they've found their form in recent weeks. Southampton really kind of live and die with Danny Ings. He's only played 14 times this season. He scored 7 goals. There's a lot of transfer talk around him. Spurs have already expressed interest. Jose Mourinho's come out and said that. I think he'd be a nice fit for a lot. He has come out and said that he wants to play in the Champions League next season if he does end up making a move. So I don't know. Because I hear Arsenal are linked to him. He's not going to go to Arsenal if he wants to get in the Champions League, So I mean, there's just like these couple things he has to take into consideration. So what's his mindset right now if he plays? He has been hurt due to COVID. I don't know if he's going to be released. I think he's been tested negative. So Danny Ings for me is a real X factor with regard to how to see this game, because if he comes in, it opens up space for Che Adams as well. If Che Adams is the only guy up top, when he gets focused on by those center backs from opposing teams, he just doesn't create in the same way. So Danny Ings is very important to their team. With all that said, I think Arsenal find a way to somehow wiggle their way into getting into results. I could see another draw through 90 minutes and then Arsenal doing something in extra time like they did against Newcastle. But this Southampton team has been very stout defensively. I could see a 0-0, honestly. I hate saying that because I'm all about goals. But a 0-0 draw after 90 minutes exactly is plus 850. On William Hill, the favorite scoreline is 1-1 at plus 450 after 90 minutes. I could see a draw for sure. I hate saying draws. So not all the time. I don't hate saying draws, but it feels very safe straddling that fence.
Yeah,
I think Arsenal win in extra time again because this is just what they do in this competition.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, I agree. And I think with Arsenal's, recent good form, especially defensively, you could definitely see that against a Southampton side. And hey, Hasenhüttl said it. Listen, asked about Ings. Life must go on, with or without him. And I like that about that manager because he really thinks as a squad. He doesn't just focus about one player. JJ, Southampton, Arsenal, a good game, definitely for the neutral. Hopefully, definitely from a technical perspective, a lot of talented players, a lot of grit here. Arsenal obviously looking to defend their FA Cup title. Southampton looking to go further on. How do you see this one?
Yeah, very excited about the game, but I'm going to be a bore and just stick with the Danny Ings chat for a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
It really interests me that Arsenal interest in Ings, because when you cast your mind back a couple of years ago, Arsenal were linked with a bid for Jamie Vardy. They wanted to bring him in. Vardy ended up staying at Leicester, but there were a lot of people who said, or questioned themselves at that time and wondered if Jamie Vardy would continue to score goals in the same way that he was doing. Would he continue to be an England international, or were Arsenal about to pay big money for somebody who was about to, completely drop off in terms of form? And now we see Jamie Vardy still banging in the goals. Now, Ings is in a similar vein to Jamie Vardy, not quite as prolific, but strikes me as the kind of guy that, he's a similar kind of gamble, and I wonder if Arsenal will be haunted by their past decision against really pushing to sign Vardy and end up trying to go all in for Ings, especially if their form continues and that pushes them up into contention for the Champions League towards the end of the season, because it's quite open at the moment, that field, in terms of the European qualification positions. And as much as I think that Arsenal qualifying for the Champions League was laughable a couple of weeks ago, the way that they're stringing a bit of form together now makes it less of a silly bet than it would have been, say, a month ago. But in terms of the game, I'm very interested to see how it pans out. We've seen Hasenhüttl, do some great things with this Southampton side in recent weeks. We saw him getting the better of Jurgen Klopp, and all the tears and the emotion attached to that. I don't think it will necessarily generate the same meaning in this FA Cup game so early on in the competition, but both sides, will fancy this as potentially winnable silverware. I mean, you look at the way that Southampton play against some of the bigger sides. They can hold their own, and I would fancy them, making a deep run if they can get past Arsenal. But like Jimmy said, Arsenal also have this habit of, sort of worming their way into the next round in games like this. And I also wouldn't be surprised if it was quite tight and then they ended up advancing in similar circumstances to the way that they did against Newcastle. But for me, I think I'm going to have to back Southampton to get through here. Home advantage, perhaps a Ward-Prowse set piece special to get them through.
This is also the Theo Walcott Cup, right? Started at Southampton, went to Arsenal, coming back to Southampton. So you never know what could happen. Jimmy, what's your final prediction on this one?
I'm going to say a draw after 90 minutes. The value there is plus 240. I like that a lot for a lot of the reasons that JJ said. Southampton, and to you guys' points, they've lost players before. Van Dijk, Lovren, Lallana, to name a few. Ricky Lambert, if you guys remember him, that's a throwback.
Right.
And they've still continued to push on and be Southampton, and still find new players to step up and produce. It just depends. For me, Ings is such a talisman for Southampton. A lot of things run through him, and I think he brings a different type of energy to the team. If he doesn't play, I just think it's going to be harder for Southampton, who haven't scored very many goals lately either. So I could see a draw. I'm going to say the draw. I think that's the safe bet, plus 240 after 90. And then after that, I think Arsenal still wins in extra time or penalties, but I think the safe play here is the draw.
Yeah, I think both teams will score, but I see Southampton winning this one, just 2-1 in regular time. We'll see what happens. All right, there's also a Premier League game as Aston Villa face Newcastle on Saturday, and this is going to be a very tricky one to discuss. Let's remove our hearts for a second. And Jimmy, what do you have for us here?
My heart is dead, Luis. My heart is dead. I'm a Newcastle supporter, and it's dead. It's been stomped on and buried. It sucks to be a Newcastle supporter. Let's come out and say it. And I don't really see there's much to talk about here. I was ready to move on to the rest of Europe because there's just nothing exciting. Anytime I watch Newcastle play, I think I've already expressed it here multiple times. There's no joy in the players. They don't look like they're having fun. And if you're not having fun as a player and there's nothing that you're getting out of the game that excites you, and when you put on the jersey, there's something about it. Of course, you have pride for wearing the Newcastle jersey, but what else is there? It's just going to be a miserable experience. And that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like a good time. And I don't think that's all on Steve Bruce, but he's not helping helping that move along in a positive way. I don't know what to say about it other than congratulations to Aston Villa for getting all 3 points this weekend.
Well, you say that, but JJ and I both well know that if there's one team you want to face to just pick yourself up once again, is Villa. It really historically is the case. And I really would not be surprised at all if Newcastle gets something out of this game. JJ, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I'm kind of wary about it as well. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised by the way we went toe-to-toe with Manchester City in midweek after the COVID explosion. The players didn't look as if they'd drew that much of a beat. I mean, okay, they did lose a bit of gas sort of after that hour mark, but defensively, they were very disciplined. I think it bodes well moving forwards because fitness-wise, they're not as far off as we perhaps feared they might be. After that COVID outbreak. So, For me, I am wary of Villa dropping points at home against lower ranked opposition. We saw it happen with Brighton earlier this season, notably Burnley as well held Villa goalless at Villa Park. Villa are just better away from home this season. It seems to suit the players' style of play more. It's kind of similar to Leicester, where Leicester are better on the road as well and have hardly won at home. So for me, I think that there is that threat of Newcastle being able to pick something up. But I think one of the reasons why Villa were so poor at home against lower ranked opposition earlier in the season was because they had the likes of Jack Grealish going away on international break, so they, like everyone else, had a lot of players being run into the ground. We've now just come off of a period where the players have been able to rest up a lot, and although in terms of match fitness, that's a bit of a disadvantage the deeper you go into the 90 minutes. That's also an advantage in terms of the amount of time it takes for the players to bounce back after a game and be ready for the next one. So I think this is a massive game for Villa to take 3 points in order to relaunch the European aspirations with a couple of games in hand against teams who are in and around the same position in the table.
Yeah, well, 3 games in hand to Arsenal at this point. And to your point, they do better away from home. But one of the things about Villa this season is that, these are now games that Villa should be winning, especially against the Newcastle side by Steve Bruce, who we know too well. I feel Newcastle will hold them, try and hold. There's nothing new that you'll try and get from Steve Bruce. You know what you're getting with Steve Bruce. He's going to sit back, try and clear it, et cetera, et cetera. And Aston Villa will just try and break them down. So I see an Aston Villa win here, just about probably maybe 2-0 until the latter stages of the game. Jimmy, what's your exact prediction? You gave 3 points to Villa. What's the scoreline?
I say 2-0. Maybe Callum Wilson gets one, and I'd be happy with that. He's my fantasy team. But, outside of that, I just don't see it. I mean, Aston Villa, despite all the things that you're talking about, still have an identity. Dean Smith has done a very good job of forging an identity with this team. Sure, it doesn't come off every single game, but when it does, it comes off well. Newcastle, their identity is let's just put all 11 people behind the ball and everybody just do their own thing when they get it going forward. Now, if Allan Saint-Maximin plays, he might, even though he's doubtful, there's a possibility that at least creates some type of an X factor where it could unbalance Aston Villa a little bit. But again, he hasn't played in quite some time, so I don't expect him to be too sharp and get match fit. So I say 2-0 Aston Villa.
JJ, what's your exact prediction?
I'm going to say 2-1 Villa. And I'm glad that Jimmy brought up Callum Wilson, because that's typical of something that would happen to Villa, a player that they go for who chooses to join the other club and then scores against Villa when a former Villa manager comes back to Villa Park. So I can see the Wilson thing coming back to haunt Villa a little bit, but I do think that we'll do just about enough. As Jimmy said, it is still obvious that the players are playing to Smith's identity, which is very positive, and it's good being a Villa fan right now. You can be positive about the team. People are coming up to you and saying, well, not necessarily coming up to you in this current circumstances, but saying to you, I don't know, via Twitter or whatever, how much they enjoy watching Villa, and that's quite refreshing. So, I'd love to see us, serve up a reminder of why people are enjoying watching us as neutrals favourites this season by picking up all 3 points. So I'm going to say 2-1.
There you go. 2-1. All right. When we come back, we'll do the rest of Europe, including some really good games in the Bundesliga and, of course, Serie A. Stay right here. Welcome back, everybody, to Que Golazo, our weekend preview. Jimmy Conrad, Jonathan Johnson. All right, we're going around Europe now. Some really big games. Jimmy, let's begin in Germany. Some interesting games in the Bundesliga. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I'm really loving Friday's fixture, Borussia Monchengladbach versus Borussia Dortmund, the Borussia Derby. Both of these clubs faced each other earlier in the season. Dortmund won 3-0. Holland had 2 goals in that one. Gio Reyna had a goal as well. I think they're maybe a little bit different form at the current moment. Mönchengladbach has been pretty up and down, I'd say, domestically. Obviously, pretty good in the Champions League, got to the first knockout rounds in their history. So congratulations again to them. But they're without Thuram still. Breel Mbolo is going to be out as well. So that's going to hurt Gladbach a little bit in terms of their options, and a little bit of a diversity in their attack makes that a little bit harder on Alassane Plea to really step up and carry the team. Obviously, Lars Stindl, and there's others that can do the job, but without Mbolo and Thuram, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And then with this Dortmund team, I just don't know. You know, they had a comprehensive performance against RB Leipzig in Leipzig 3-1. They were so good in that. And then the next match day, they play Mainz, who's on the bottom of the table, and it's 1-1. And then they just played Bayer Leverkusen, they lost 2-1. And the goals they gave up to Bayer Leverkusen are just, I can't, as a former defender, guys, it's a straight ball for a run that's, excuse me, coming off the shoulder. Like, it's just, it shouldn't happen at this level is essentially what I want to get to. And it continues to happen to Dortmund. And now with Terzic, you know, managing, he's the interim manager. He's taken what, Lucien Favre had in place in terms of their pressuring system, but just gone maybe 20, 30 yards higher up the field. And that is allowing them to get exposed a little bit defensively. We see with Bayern Munich for whatever reason, almost every single game, they're taking these risks, and now teams are getting comfortable playing out of the high press and then just like hit that straight long ball and make a good timed run, and we're in. And that's what we saw with Dortmund. I don't know. It's really frustrating. So they just got to figure out kind of where their line of confrontation is. I know I'm getting soccer nerdy here, and where they want to win the ball without necessarily allowing their center backs to get exposed or get into a foot race. Borussia Monchengladbach are very good at that foot race stuff. They've proven it against some top competition this season, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, to name a couple. I like this one. I don't know. I mean, got Holland in your team, you always have a chance, in my opinion. I see a draw. I'm going draw city again. I don't know what it is, because I just feel like, but Mönchengladbach at home, I could see 2-1 here. Dortmund falling down the table a little bit. Everybody's expecting more from them given their talent, but I don't know. Something's a little off there at the moment.
Yeah, and JJ, Gladbach need to, pick up some points to just, climb up the table, because they're not exactly where they want to be, as well as Dortmund. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I think this is a big opportunity for Mönchengladbach. I mean, let's cast our minds back a couple of weeks. Mönchengladbach beat Bayern at home, and I think they're capable of producing that kind of performance again against Dortmund. It's almost like Mönchengladbach are actually made now for the bigger matches, and the games that they struggle in are the games you'd expect them to win against sort of middle of the table to bottom half of the table teams. So I think that we are primed for Mönchengladbach to pick up 3 points. To Jimmy's point about Dortmund, I think if Dortmund take one or two of their chances in that match against Leverkusen, it would have been a different story, particularly the Jadon Sancho opportunity. But I completely agree with him. It's almost as if, Lucien Favre is still there, and to be honest, I don't really see what Dortmund could have expected, just replacing Favre with his assistant coach. The methods, the tactical outlook was never going to change massively. So it doesn't surprise me that they're still producing the same kind of standard fare that they've been producing all season. And it's, it is proving costly at this moment in time for them in terms of their title hopes and potentially Champions League qualification as well. So for me, I'm thinking that Mönchengladbach can pull this off, get the win. I think they could probably do it quite convincingly as well. I'd say a 2-0 or a 3-1. I mean, I think it is encouraging for Dortmund that they've got somebody like Zagadou back on the pitch, but how long it's going to be until he's actually fit and in full form, and able to sort of string matches together, we'll have to wait and see. But I think he makes a big difference to that Dortmund backline and makes it a bit less shaky. But for me, this weekend, I can only see Mönchengladbach coming out on top in this Borussia derby.
Even without Thuram and Brillon Bolo, they're pretty good enough to do this.
No, but I mean, you look at the players that they have. Lars Stindl is criminally underrated. He's very, very good. Jonas Hoffmann as well is a player that I have a lot of time for. Alassane Player, when he wants to, can be a great player. He still has issues with his consistency, and he's been kind of unlucky over the last couple of weeks where he's been kind of ruled out of matches at the last moment. But there is a lot of quality there, and it just seems to come to the fore in the bigger games. I mean, perhaps they've been more excited coming into their Champions League matchups this season than they have domestically, because we've seen them produce some fantastic performances. Look at the double header against Shakhtar. Look at the way that they took it to Real Madrid as well at the beginning of the group stage. They absolutely merit that place in the latter stages of the Champions League. But they kind of have taken their eye off the ball domestically a bit, and they need to get it back on there now. They've showed that they're capable of doing that against Bayern, but Bayern is a Champions League caliber match, as is Dortmund, which is why I expect Mönchengladbach to really take the game to them and win this one on Friday.
Yeah, Jimmy, a little more on Schalke Bayern, I guess. Schalke, bottom of the table, the worst defensive record in the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich, who don't look perfect, but they are Bayern Munich. You would expect 3 points here from the Bavarians?
Yeah, for sure. They might even give up an early goal to our new American Lord and Savior, Matthew Hoppe, who has scored in 3 straight Bundesliga games. So this guy's coming out of nowhere. Great story. And there's a lot being written about him online, including our very own CBSSports.com. I mean, this kid is under 19 and I want to see him now. Right. It's one thing to do it against maybe an Eintracht or one of those teams, but to do it against Bayern Munich would be something very special. So we'll see if he can keep his good form going. That's really the only angle I'm looking in this one, because I do think that Bayern Munich should decimate Schalke in a lot of different ways.
All right. So final score predictions for both games. Gladbach, Dortmund, you have a Gladbach win. JJ, what's your score there?
I'm going to say 3-1. I'm being hopeful. I think the Gladbach will win by 2 goals.
All right. And Schalke, Bayern?
Oof. 0-4 Bayern.
0-4. Love.
So I'll say really quick. I went to Schalke Bayern Munich game at the Allianz 3 or 4 seasons ago, and it was 4-0 after 30 minutes. Bayern were up, and Manuel Neuer still hadn't touched the ball. The first 30 minutes, I was like, "What is even happening?" So maybe that was the downfall of Schalke. That was like the beginning of it. So yeah, I don't give Schalke, no matter where they're playing that game, much of a chance. I do want to say that Borussia Monchengladbach, for all you people that are into the gambling stuff and you got that itch, the match result and both teams to score. If both teams score and Gladbach win, it's plus 350. The draw is plus 285, and Dortmund is winning straight up plus 255. So they're actually the favorites in this one. I don't see them getting not getting shut out. I think that there's too much firepower. You got Erling Haaland in your team with Dortmund. I know that JJ said 2-0. Like, no way, this Dortmund team will find a way to score, but Mönchengladbach are something special. I do want to say, though, they have spurned 18 points from winning positions in the league this season, Borussia Mönchengladbach. So they are very good at getting leads, but not holding on to them. So we'll see if that impacts it. But I want to let you guys know that line, because I think both teams are going to score, and then whatever your heart's telling you to choose, you should go for it.
Well, that first line, I think, is the winner right there. Gladbach to win and both teams to score, just to the points that you just mentioned. All right. Did you give me your final predictions, score predictions on both games?
I didn't. I'll say 3-2 Gladbach, and I'll say 4-1 Bayern Munich, and I'm hoping that Matthew Hoppe scores again for Schalke.
Absolutely. All right, let's go with a 2-1 Gladbach and Bayern Munich just 5-1. Let's give Hoppe a go. All right, let's go now to the rest of Europe, Jimmy. Italy or Spain? Where do you want to go?
I'll go Italy first, because I think there's a really intriguing one there. AC Milan taking on Atalanta. The straight-up lines there, Milan to win straight up is plus 165. The draw is plus 275. Atalanta to win in Milan is plus 145. They are actually the bookies' favorite to win, which I find very interesting, especially because Zlatan is back in the team for Milan. I think the reason why, though, is that the captain for Milan, Romagnoli, is out due to yellow card accumulation. Theo Hernandez, one of the better, definitely one of the best attacking left backs in the world. He's out. Hakan Çalhanoğlu is out as well due to COVID. And they just added Mandzukic as well. I don't think he's going to play. He's going to maybe come on as a super sub. So the squad is maybe not as balanced as usual, but they've dealt with that pretty well throughout the season. So I was pretty surprised that Adelanta are the favorites, but they don't have really any issues in streak of 12 games, even though they've had 2 kind of shaky draws the last 2. Josip Ilicic, the 32-year-old, he's the guy. When he plays and pulls the strings and he has influence, they win. Then the offense clicks. But when he is maybe crowded around and not getting the space that he normally can find, then it's harder for Duvan Zapata and Luis Muriel up top to find space to score and really kind of flow and transition in a way that we know Atalanta can. And I think Milan will be aware of that. So it's really going to be Ilicic versus the Milan midfield that I think that determine this game in a lot of different ways. I'm going to maybe stay away from that. Zlatan to score anytime plus 100, I think is really good value. The guy always steps up in big games. He knows this is a big one. If they really want to continue to hold off Inter Milan and Juve, who are still hanging around, and any other teams that want to challenge for the Scudetto, they have to win games like this. So I like that Zlatan plus 100 to score anytime.
I'm very surprised that Atalanta is the favorite in this.
I agree, man. It's crazy.
Very, very weird. JJ, how do you see this game? Mario Mandzukic back. I love that. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, man, I'm interested to see whether Mandzukic reprises that strange sort of target man out wide role that we've seen him play over the years, and how that might work for AC Milan. I guess we'll see once they need their greater strength and depth, which they're trying to add to this month in the transfer window. I think the thing that I'm most curious about this weekend is there always seems to be a title contender in Italy that drops points, and Inter Milan are on the road at Udinese, and Udinese largely over the course of 2020 had a very, very good, very tight defense, and they've been able to shut out teams. And I think that this is an opportunity for AC Milan, if they can get the win at home, to potentially, make a proper gap between them and Inter at the top of the table, and really set themselves up, for this title bid, because it looked like they might have blown it a couple of weeks ago when they lost at home to Juve. But now we've seen Inter, basically putting Juve out of the title race, because I don't think that they're going to be able to get themselves back into it. And for me, this is a big opportunity for Milan to put some daylight between them and their city rivals.
Interesting. What's your final result on that one?
I am going to go 3-2 AC against Atalanta.
Ooh, high scoring game. Jimmy, did you give me your score?
I didn't. I was refusing to give it to you. I will say, I think this one could prove to be a little tighter. I'll say 2-1 Milan. I think when you have somebody like Zlatan in your team, who's notorious for being a game winner and elevating your team, especially in big games, I'll go with them. Milan 2-1.
Yeah, I don't see Atalanta winning this. Milan has only lost once, but there's been a few draws between amongst both teams. So maybe it's a 2-2 here. Maybe Atalanta sneak a late equalizer. Who knows? I'm going with 2-2 on that one. All right, let's quickly talk PSG, JJ. Anything from there? Pochettino back. They're facing Montpellier. What's the latest with them?
Well, it wasn't Pochettino doing the pre-match press conference. It was Jesus Perez. So that suggests that there won't be any Pochettino on the sidelines on Friday. Montpellier will be without Andy Delort. 9 goals so far this season. Very, very underrated striker, actually. Somebody who I think, has his history work against him. We saw him go to Mexico for a while. He came to England as well with Wigan Athletic, but has been a very good, consistent goal scorer in France. He won't be there, so that's a bit of aggro that PSG won't have to worry about. Leandro Paredes was disappointed because he was talking pre-match as well. He really loves the beef that PSG have with Delort and Montpellier. But Montpellier on an awful run of form. PSG looking decent under Pochettino. Obviously, they have the silverware under their belts, and they managed to dig out the win as well against Angers through a Lavin Cazorla volley last weekend. So, PSG at this moment in time, looking quite stable, quite consistent, and then we'll just see what happens with the rest of the title contenders in France, because you've got Andre Villas-Boas's Marseille falling to pieces at the moment, Lyon losing at home to Metz, and Monaco seeming to go from strength to strength. So there is potential for the title race to change and shape up over the coming weeks. And PSG just need to make sure that they stay on top of the pile, because at the moment they're slightly in the lead. Lille giving chase, but Lille don't look the same side since the takeover happened. So I expect PSG to win this one, but there's no other major news to report outside of Leandro Paredes declaring his desire to stay at PSG for the foreseeable future. He's been linked with Inter Milan.
Well, I'm sure that Argentine connection remains strong right there in PSG with his manager. All right, what about Spain, Jimmy? We've got La Liga. Real Madrid, man, losing in the cup. Interesting. They have Alaves. Elche faces Barcelona, and Atleti against Valencia. But again, we're talking before their game against Eibar. How do you see Spain this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect to Barcelona, obviously a lot of narratives to get into there. And Atleti, can they continue to have their march to winning La Liga this season? We have to talk about Real Madrid. They just got knocked out of the Copa del Rey by a third division team that had 10 men and a 41-year-old goalkeeper. It's embarrassing at a lot of different levels. And what I find interesting, and I think I brought this up a long time ago, is that when Marcelo plays for Real Madrid, they're terrible. Like when he steps on the field, it's just like he throws off their balance a ton. They give up opportunities they shouldn't. He's not covering the same type of ground. I like Marcelo. He should go down as one of the best left backs, well, on the attacking side for sure, that has ever played. But right now, he is a huge liability for that club. And then you got Lucas Vazquez, who, again, he's just not an outside back. You can try to cram this striker's instincts into a right back position. And sure, he's probably fine going forward. And, he whips in a pretty good ball, things considered. But he just doesn't have any instincts of like angles and positioning. And it's it's embarrassing in some ways for Madrid that you have to roll out these guys that aren't good enough. So they have to respond in this. Zidane, for his own job, have to respond against Alaves this weekend. The funny part is that Alaves beat them in Madrid earlier this season 2-1. So they got a little confidence against these guys. That said, Madrid, like we saw in the Champions League, when their backs are against the wall, they do end up performing. I think they will again this week. I like Karim Benzema to score and Real Madrid to win 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. That's plus 450. I hit this bet with Cavani on Wednesday. I said the same thing, but Cavani was going to score for United. Same score lines against Fulham, and that hit. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I think it's going to happen again here with Benzema and Madrid. They have to win this game. They can't drop points to Alaves at this point in the season.
Yeah. Well, I called that Fulham United game. I said Fulham will score first and United will win. So boom.
You nailed it. I
love it. JJ, did you want to say something on this Real Madrid? I'm hearing rumors, by the way. Marcelo Gallardo maybe approached if something goes wrong with Zidane. I don't know how much that is, but that would be amazing. But JJ, how do you see Real Madrid right now after that loss?
Oh, that would be very interesting. I've always had Gallardo pegged as someone who's going to come to France, given his playing history. So I've got my fingers crossed that some French team takes the risk and brings him over to Ligue 1 in the near future. No, what I wanted to get your thoughts on was there's an interesting piece at the moment up on CBS by our own James Benge and Fabrizio Romano, where they're debating the possibility of Odegaard going to Arsenal. I wanted to know where you stand sort of on the lack of playing time that Odegaard has, because he's a player who really, really blossomed with Sociedad on loan, and then has been taken back to Madrid. And predictably, as was the fear, has not been given enough game time and is now wanting out again and looking for pastures new. And I find it a real shame. I mean, looking at what's happened to Sociedad, on paper it looked like a great deal, replacing Odegaard with David Silva. It hasn't quite worked out in the way that they hoped it would. And Odegaard going back to Real Madrid hasn't worked out the second time round either. For me, I think he absolutely needs to play. I'm just surprised that, considering their struggles, that Real Madrid won't give him more time to potentially try and prove himself. It seems crazy to me.
But it's very Real Madrid. It's very Real Madrid to not give. What's weird about Martin Odegaard? And Jimmy, feel free to chime in. It's like, he's 22. He's 22 years old, everybody. He's played for Norway more than 25 times. He's gone through there and back, as you mentioned, for Real Sociedad, of course, and then all on loans to like Vitesse, etc. Like, he's 22 years old. There's still so much to work with here. I would love to see him in the Premier League. I think he would be so good. And I'm with you. I don't think Real Madrid is giving him enough chances. He deserves much more. He's 22, everybody. Come on. We're not talking about like a 30-year-old.
I don't know where he fits when I look at the lineup right now with Madrid.
Oh, with Madrid, no. Like, he should go.
But Asensio, Eden Hazard, like, they're looking for guys that slash a little bit, that run with the ball and like drive at the lines. Odegaard's just different. He's looking to combine. He's looking to maintain some possession. He's looking to break you down in a different way. And I think we could all agree that maybe Madrid do need a little bit of that in their team, but they're just not willing to take that risk. And then you have guys like Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., who are very similar to that, right? They're going to run. It's more of a flashy speed game. It's more about pace than it is. And Odegaard's just different. He slows the game down in a different way. And that doesn't really match up with the rest of the Madrid players, for better or for worse. And so, yeah, he should move on. And Arsenal would be a good fit. That's a type of player that Arsenal tend to like historically. Guys that know how to play and look to combine and try to work some magic around the top of the box to create stuff. So I would be interested. I would be curious to see, where he would go and how he would fit in with Arsenal, but he does need to leave as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point, though. And a really good piece. Well said there, JJ. Absolutely, on CBS Sports. All right. Anything else? Here we go as we wrap up. We told you it was a busy weekend, always busy. Let's begin with you, Jimmy. Any final thoughts as we look ahead to another busy weekend?
No, I'm excited about the U.S. women's national team. They're playing against Colombia one more time. They took care of them a little bit earlier in the week, 4-0. It's another good opportunity for us to look at some new players, get some new blood into the women's national team so we can win a third consecutive Women's World Cup. Let's go.
They're so good. Katarina Macario, man. She is a
so good.
baller.
The real deal.
The real deal. JJ, final thoughts from you, my friend.
I think we've covered all the topics already. I've definitely got my eye on that game in La Liga, Atletico Madrid against Valencia, to see if Valencia can prove to be a thorn in their side. But I think we've covered all the other major talking points for me this week.
Absolutely. See, that's what we do here. We just cover it all, baby. We cover it all. All right, well, boys, thank you so much. Jimmy, thank you, man.
Thank you.
JJ, thanks, bud.
Pleasure as always. Looking forward to the next one.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank Jimmy Conrad and Jonathan Johnson for joining me today. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, @GoLassoPod, and send us your questions anytime you want. We always want to hear from you. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. And please, please, please leave a rating and review whenever you can. Have a great, great weekend.